Hi everybody, this is Khashayar and today I'm trying to cover some basics of socket programming. And for this tutorial you need to have some knowledge about networking, TCP/IP, ports and this kind of stuff, and of course you need to have some knowledge on how to code with Python to some extent. So what is sockets? Sockets are the endpoint of the communication channels, and they can communicate between two ports in the same machine or in two different machines, and they can communicate between the process or within the process, for example. And we can implement them in different channels type, like for example Unix domain or TCP or UDP. And socket module is part of the standard library. It's coming with Python, so we don't need to download extra module. It's already there, and it has some useful classes to handling our transmission communication in sockets. For example, we can specify domain types or host name, protocols, ports, and we can pretty good do everything with it. So, and for this tutorial I'm going to write a simple echo server and simple client server, and at the end we are going to connect them to each other, and hopefully we can make them to communicate to each other. So let's start with our echo server. First of all, we need to create a file and we call it server.py or server.py. Okay, and I'm using Genie. You can use whatever editor you like. Genie server.py. Okay. And here the first thing to do is to import the module. Import socket, and I'm going to import two more modules, time and OS. I'm going to need OS because I like to clean my command line when the program is starting, and also I can use time for create some kind of delay between the lines of the code, so I can see where I am in the process of the code. So this is very good idea when you really want to know what's going on in your code. And also another thing, what we are going to do, we are going to test our code, run it very often, so if we have some problems we will find out immediately. And the first thing we need to do is clean our command line. System and clear. If you are in Windows operating system, you need to write CLS. And another thing, let's create a function, main function, and put all our codes into the function. Define main. And here, for example, as a prompt we can write print simple server socket, and we close it by and call it by if name equal main, under main, and it will be main. So let's try it if it's working correctly. Then Python 3 and server.py, simple server socket. And another thing, we can make a delay here, time.sleep, so we know exactly when our main function executed. time. Oh, this is wrong. Here, one more time. See, simple server socket. Okay. The first thing to do, we need to define the IP address what we are going to communicate with and the port from that IP address. In that IP address, we are going to use this echo server in our local computer. Then host will be local computer and will be 127.0.0.1, and the port will be anything rather than the default ports. If you don't want to have any problem later, for example, don't use 23, 21, 80, and you know what are the default ports. I'm going to use 5000. There is no advantage on this port, and I got the idea that we can write a prompt before and after executing each line of code in the main function. For example, first thing we need to define our socket. We can call it s equal, for example, socket.socket, but I'm going to write my socket equal socket.socket. Then here before this line we can write print creating a socket. Creating a socket, we create a socket and time that sleep 1, like something is working and we know what is working, and after print socket created. Let's see. Didn't print it. So print. Oh, because we didn't save it. Okay. Server line 13. My socket one typo here. Yes, there is no T. One more time. Okay, server. And what we write here? Print creating, not creating. Creating socket. Okay. Creating a socket created. Right. The next step would be binding the host name, the IP address, and the port on that IP address to the socket, and this is going to be done very easily by my socket .bind method, and we have to use IP and port inside the tuple. So we write it host and port. Then on top of it we can write print binding socket to IP, which is host, and port. Binding socket to IP, host, and port, and time that sleep, just a little bit delay, like a taste, and after print, binding is done. Process simple: create a socket created, binding socket to this IP and port, and binding is done. And with this way we can see the process of our code, how it's working. Okay, what's the next step? Next step, we need to put the socket to listen mode to that IP address and port, and we can do it by using my socket dot listen. And listen, here we can pass the number to listen function, and one it means it will listen to only one port, one connection at a time. And after we can write print my socket, we can print socket, for example, is ready and listening to port, listening to again host and port. Okay. Okay, it's working. The next step is we need to accept the data from that connection and address. So we need to define two variables. These are up to you how you name them. We call it connection and address are connection receive 1024, number should be here, and decode. I'm sorry, no, that should be in the next step. It should be my socket accept. So my socket, the connection and address will be two different variables, and our connection accepting them. My socket going to accept it. And after we can write print the connection from string the address. That address is number, but we print it as a string. Okay, so far we are almost done for this part. The next part we have to make it listen constantly in a while loop, and after we can make it to echo any data that it's receiving from our client. So before we finish this video, one more time we are going to try this code. You see, it's stuck here because now it's just listening, and then we have to do something about the data is coming from a client, and also we need to put everything to decoding the data into the while loop, and we are going to do it in the next video. So what we did is we import the socket and we define the host for it, the IP address and the port, and after we define our socket from socket library, and after we bind the host and port to the socket and put the socket to the listening mode, and after we create two variables and accept the connection from this specific address. Okay, thanks for watching. Till next time.